Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I am joined by regular co-host, Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben, and indeed everybody. How you doing?
Hello, Andy. And also, we are joined by a very, very special returning guest. It's Stu Freeman, aka StuTube.
Hello.
Hello. He's a geeky gay dude, a horror nerd, a gig promoter, a gamer, and YouTuber. Welcome to the show, Stu. Hello.
Hello. It's nice to be back. Thank you so much.
Hello there. Welcome back. It's probably a lot longer than we realized since you were last on the show. The last time you joined us was to discuss The Taking of Deborah Logan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which was back in May 2021. So it has been over 2 years. That is kind of crazy.
It's flown by, to be honest with you, as well.
Absolutely flown by. Indeed it has. But I hope you're well. You're still consuming horror and all that good stuff at a decent rate.
Absolutely, yeah. Like still watching a truckload of horror and TV series and all sorts of things. Still constantly trying to game between doing all my other hobbies and events and stuff like that. But yeah, I watched quite a few horrors over the past couple of weeks, so it's a good job that we're doing this because I've actually got things to talk to.
Okay, that's good. That's good, yeah.
Unleash that pent-up horror.
That's it.
Unleash that pent-up horror. Well, today obviously isn't straight up horror. We've got some musical, we've got some comedy as well. And now horror musicals is not something that we've done all that much of. Obviously, we've done Rocky Horror Picture Show. Is that it, Andy? The only
I think
musical
so.
horror?
We haven't done Repo,
we've never
the
done
genetic rock opera.
No, we've never done it. We've never done a Sweeney Todd either.
Never done a Sweeney Todd. I'm not against the Sweeney Todd. That's fine.
I'm not dead against a Sweeney Todd, you know. But
There's an Evil Dead musical, but only on stage. I'm not sure there's a recording we could watch.
Oh, okay. Maybe we want to watch it in person. The Evil Dead musical does sound like fun.
I've been to see the Evil Dead musical.
Oh yeah, you have
in Korean, which is pretty good.
Oh, okay.
I was in Korea. I wasn't like just watching it on hard mode in England.
You're just like such a show off. Well, have you seen the Evil Dead musical version in Korean? You like the Evil Dead, do you?
Yeah. Try watching it in a language more and more as time goes on, synonymous with horror cinema. Why not watch it in another language?
So I'm assuming you have like a decent understanding of Korean. You'd be able to...
bollocks of Korean. I'm really bad. No, I can follow. I managed to follow the Evil Dead, and the songs actually pretty catchy in Korean. Like a lot of words, particularly pop culture things, like so similar. You'd be able to tell them apart.
Okay.
You did watch it in English and being disappointed by the songs in English.
I did listen to it in English later, and I didn't enjoy them as much. I was like, Korean version's pretty good. But I'm a big fan of any musical that has a splatter zone. They give you like a white T-shirt if you're in the first like few rows.
Oh, and
wow, okay. Like at various points, they're chainsawing the zombies up, and whatever. You either get sprayed with blood, or at some points, the zombies as being dismembered would like crawl out over the audience, and you come out like absolutely caked at the end. Never managed to get tickets for that bit though, so bucket list.
Oh, it costs more to get splattered, I assume.
I think so, or either they just sold out really quick.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's part of the fun. Yeah. So, Stu, what YouTube channel are you still sort of involved with that? Is that still a regular? Have you still got a regular output going down? I know you obviously in the past you've done various lists and other various interesting video content. I think we discussed last time you were on the show.
Yeah, so I had a bit of a break from doing the YouTube stuff just because the events that I do as a hobby kind of took off really well, and I've been doing sort of bigger gigs and all sorts of things like that, and I've got like a stage at Bristol Pride this year and all sorts, so it's like all gone a bit crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah, the sort of break that I had from YouTube just became longer and longer to the point where I probably haven't made a video in like maybe 6 to 8 months now, which is not really what I had in mind. But
I'm sure all your old content's still getting views though, right? Because your numbers would still
it seems to be me. It's like still reaching quite a lot of people, and I still get a lot of comments about people sort of recommending me different movies and different like found footage films because they seem to be the most popular videos that I've got on there. But funnily enough, one of the last videos I did was about movie musicals that you might have missed, and it had things like trying to make a TV show and they get stuck in that, and it's all a bit insane. But yeah, there's like top 10 sort of musicals that a lot of people hadn't seen, so that's on the channel as well. Speaking of Little Shop,
I am adding it. It's on.
Ah, nice.
Cool movie, Little Shop of Horrors. The guest that we've got cross section. I don't know why they're.
You don't like musicals. Shit.
Yeah, I think
don't even want to go. And then you
Yeah, I
sit there
think
and have
so.
like the time of your life. You come up with a big smile on your face, singing the songs for a week afterwards.
Yeah.
A couple of months pass and you forget.
Hugh Jackman, what a great guy.
He's a song and dance man. You can't beat him.
Yeah, you definitely can. But a horror themed musical as well is quite a combo. And I don't know. I think maybe it's just because part of me is, I wouldn't say I'm like a elitist or a snob in any way about the horror genre or any of it. It's a combination that shouldn't work, really, isn't it? But the fact that it does, and it so often seems to.
Most of the examples that I think we've seen, like, I think I have a lot of fans, whether people's mileage varies, but I think both this and Rocky Horror, huge cult status, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really random musicals that, like I said, the people in the family who run almost like a sort of like a motel or like a little hotel B&B kind of place, and for some reason, every time they get a guest, they end up like killing them in some really horrible way, but in a sort of almost like a by accident kind of thing. But actually, it kind of happened because the family are just awful, and it's actually really funny. So yeah, that's a good.
That's Japanese, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's been mentioned by somebody before. Maybe Luke Condor.
If that, or I know I've definitely seen Stu's video, because as soon as we're starting to say this, like, a vague memory. Maybe I'm better read on horror musicals than I thought. I probably just watched your video, Stu.
Well, yeah.
Look, all this information I've got, all this knowledge I've got.
Internalized it as my own knowledge, but no, it probably almost certainly is you.
You've internalized. You think it's your internal monologue, just talking
How
to
do I
yourself
just
about
know
these...
this? Like a salmon swimming up the river. I've just known it inherently in my genetic memory. No. You've seen a video, but you've seen it about, you've seen a video maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I do that sometimes. Do you ever do it? Like if you've watched a YouTube video on something, and for some reason it comes up in conversation, and you're like, "I've literally watched a video on this today. Everybody, sit back. Here's all the knowledge I've got." And everyone's like, "How do you know all this about it?" And I'm like,
"Got all these facts." People are like, "Oh, Ben, Richard Osman over there. He knows all the little facts."
I watched a 4-hour video essay on this movie today, so not this one, but that's usually what I do. I did. Right, now you've mentioned Richard Osman, I have to bring him up, Andy. I have to bring him up, and I'm going to. So I was watching House of Games the other day. I think it was a repeat. I don't think it was a brand new episode. Who knows? One of the games they were playing, I know they play lots of different games. It was definitely a spin on the famous horror hangout game, The Name Game, where they described the name of a movie and just did a twist on the synopsis, and then it sounded like but wasn't. And I was fuming, to be honest, Andy. I was angry. I think we should have copyrighted it a long time ago.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, Ben. So if Richard or any of his research team are listening, you're very welcome. Let's not mention that my final round of any of the quizzes that we do is the end of Jeopardy. We won't mention that.
No.
Especially since getting the UK version. If Stephen Fry comes at me for that, so no, Stephen. Actually, I've been doing this for a while.
To be fair, though, and I know I'm biased, Andy. I am incredibly biased. Ours is way better. It was too simplistic. They were like changing one word of things, and people still weren't getting things. And I was like, "Come on now,
come on."
Yeah,
people in the British television comedy circuit. What are you thinking? If you can't get an obscure reference,
exactly. I'm pretty sure my version of Name Game is pretty simplistic today, though, so we'll just backtrack on that very quickly. I guess we should, before we jump into the film of the week, we should probably talk about a little bit of horror news before we do so. So, a couple of stories this week. I'll talk about some game stuff. Everyone here is a gamer, so let's talk about some game stuff. There was a Summer Game Fest last week, sort of. What was it, Thursday or Friday? And one of the announcements was that Nicolas Cage is going to be a playable character in Dead by Daylight. He was there at Summer Game Fest on stage. Some horror hangout alumni were there in the crowd, Ash Millman was in the crowd. She got a photo for Instagram of Nicolas Cage in person on the stage. So, you know, when
There
we
he
say
is.
about twice, how many degrees of separation is it?
Separation. So yeah, two from Nick Cage.
2. We're pretty close to Nick Cage now. So he's gonna be a playable character. He's not gonna be like a villain character, I guess. He's just a playable character. Have they done that often? Dead by Daylight, like
Dead by
made
Daylight, I've done like everyone, but I guess Nick Cage is a goodie if it's like is it like his
Yeah,
Willy's
that's what-
Wonderland character, right?
That's what I meant. I don't no, it's not. It doesn't look like it's his Willy's Wonderland character. It looks like it's just a version of Nicolas Cage, I guess, a la The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. But I don't know. He's in sort of like a, I don't know. He almost looks like in a bit of a Renfield getup. He's in sort of like a red suit.
But he's not a Dracula. Maybe he's chasing
No,
people
no.
around after the piece of chocolate cake, like the Weatherman. Ta-da!
You did say obscure reference.
He's got like weird sort of powers where he can control like branches and trees and things like that and stuff. That's what he was saying. He's got like mystical powers when he was on.
Wow, okay.
Okay, fair enough. But
He
cool.
turns up on the stage and like, was he wearing like a snakeskin suit or something? Did I imagine that? In my head, he's wearing a
You're
snakeskin
thinking
suit.
of just what he wears
In
in
Snake Eyes.
Face Off or Snake Eyes.
I look at him and I go, yeah, it'd be good. Imagine you could like just transform between Nicolas Cage characters as well. That'd be good.
Be a bit of Ghost Rider, do some pointing. It's the
Yeah.
most. If pointing offends you, like because you're from the 1940s, like be very offended by Ghost Rider.
All I remember from Ghost Rider is his like jet black hair. Like
Jet black hair, and he points at so many
the
people.
best advert for Just for Men that has ever been. It was jet black. Yeah, so there was that, which obviously sounds interesting. I think even if you don't play Dead by Daylight, a lot of people are going to be downloading it just to play as Nicolas Cage, I think, because, you know, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, and the other announcement was a first-person shooter from John Carpenter called Toxic Commando. And from the trailer, it kind of looks like zombie-based.
It's like a Left 4 Dead, right?
It looks like a Left 4 Dead / a Days Gone. But yeah, having John Carpenter's name attached to it is pretty cool. Interested to see what he could bring to that. Has he been involved in games before? I know he is a gamer, isn't he? Because
yeah, he wants. I think he's. Well, I'm not sure if he's overtly said I want to do this, or whether it's just a passing. It would be cool to. He's a big Dead Space guy. I think he would like to do a Dead Space film.
He likes a Dead Space. So this is from Focus Entertainment and Saber Interactive. Cooperative first-person shooter powered by the Swarm engine. So that sounds like it's going to be similar to Days Gone, doesn't it? Just like with loads and loads of enemies on the screen. And apparently Carpenter said, "Look, I really like shooting zombies." He's coming out aggressive from the word go. Look, listen here. They keep telling me that they're called the Infected. He's done it like that. And he's gone, please, they're ghouls, dude. They blow up real good and there are a ton of them. People are going to love this game. It sounds like they've said, give us a little snippet of something to say.
Give a bit of attitude, will you? Come on.
Give it a bit of attitude. Come on. That's what the kids like these days. And he's going, I don't give a fuck. I'm a 70.
Fuck off. Listen here. Yeah.
It looks like the kind of game. Yeah, go on.
I'm looking forward to it. Looks good.
Bite.
Like, I think it's going to be, you know, I like a co-op. I like a co-op shooter. The only thing I'm going to say, developers out there, give me an offline mode where I can play with bots. I don't care if the IO is not great. I don't want to have to wait in lobbies to get into a match. I downloaded the one that isn't Left 4 Dead, Back 4 Blood. And I lost my rag with it. I was going to have just a quick go. I downloaded it. It was on Game Pass, so it's going to have a quick go at it. I lost my rag and gave up and ran out of time to play before I could work it out to actually get into a match because of all the setup it wanted me to do. And I was like, well, congratulations, you've made this not fun. I'm going to go and play something else, more Vampire Survivors, I guess. I'm looking forward to this. I'll give it a crack because I was a real big Left 4 Dead fan. I played it a lot.
Yeah, same. Yeah. I thought that Back 4 Blood was going to give me that sort of Left 4 Dead itch that needed scratching kind of thing because I missed that game and I used to love playing that as like couch co-op. I really like couch co-op games.
Yeah, put couch co-op back in it because, you know, it doesn't matter that you can see each other's screens.
Yeah,
because you're on the same
Couch co-op
team.
was good fun,
Yeah,
wasn't
exactly.
it?
Who cares? But yeah, I mean, that didn't really do it for me, and Alien Fireteam didn't do it for me either. That wasn't great.
Yeah.
So we need something that to sort of fill the gap from Left 4 Dead 2, I reckon.
And we're about to get another Friday the 13th, because the one that was formally kickstarted and launched, I think the license is about to expire on that. So, but there's going to be another one, because it will revert to somebody else, and they will make one, I imagine. Because I'm a horrible pessimist and I just can't enjoy anything, I imagine what they'll do is make an almost identical asymmetrical online horror thing. I'd love a bloody single player Friday the 13th game. Even if it was auto generated. Give me something with like a run and hide mechanic, like a clock tower, how they work. Playing this little Corey Feldman running about. Call me developers. I'll do this.
When's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game out? Is that soon? That's a similar sort of thing, and it's like a.
I mean, in the grand scheme of time, definitely soon. I'm confident without.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is soon. Yeah. And the only other thing at Summer Games Fest is they showed a bit more of Alan Wake 2. They're officially calling this game the first survival horror game from Remedy Games. So they're clearly saying that the original Alan Wake wasn't survival horror. It was more of a thriller, spooky thriller. I don't know.
An action thriller, was it?
Action thriller, yeah. But it looks like in this game it is officially Alan Wake and the FBI agent character, and it's
a new character, right? I saw the little gameplay.
50-50 split. Yeah, the gameplay looks good. It looks like you're taking on like some sort of weird culty, maybe supernatural things. And yeah, so looking forward to that, most definitely. It's always good fun.
We've got a couple of others, right? Haven't we? There was the Xbox game showcase the other day as well. So Hellblade 2 has a launch date now of next year. Either of you played Hellblade 1?
Yes, I love it. It's such a good game.
It's great.
And the fact that it's obviously it sort of mixes the sort of Norse mythology kind of thing with like sort of different kinds of mental illness. And I found that really fascinating. And there was like a sort of video diary of how they made it and how they looked into different kinds of psychosis that were going to sort of bleed into the game. And it was fascinating. So when I played it afterwards, after watching all these diaries and stuff, I found it even more intriguing. And I even though it's a short game, I think I've played it about 5 or 6 times now, all the way through.
I love a short game. I loved Hellblade. I loved What Remains of Edith Finch. I think horror-centric enough.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to Hellblade 2. That'll be a day one download and actually play quickly for me. I think it will get straight to the top of that playlist. And there's another horror game that's been announced as well. Now, I'll say it'll sound completely feasible, and then it won't be. Is it Beneath? Like an underwater...
Oh, I think I did see
like an underwater narrative-based horror thing.
An underwater one, well, like a Soma, but
yeah, like a Soma, but not in the distant future. And it's going to the depths of the ocean. It's either the one I was thinking of or an identical name that is called Beneath is also coming out, but it's an underwater horror game that was also trailered there as well. Nice. So yeah,
and we getting like some sort of Capcom showcase as well, like coming.
Yeah, like next week, is it the Capcom showcase?
Yeah. Pretty soon.
So maybe some Resident Evil 4 DLC. Yeah, I think there was some more Silent Hill stuff as well, wasn't there? That I know we mentioned the trailer for, but is it the Timefall one? That one as well, I think, is getting discussed next.
Okay.
There's so much got announced. I kind of lost that I didn't really understand when things were going to be released and in what order as well.
Yeah. So yeah, days are gone now. The real life horrors. There used to be E3 where it was just 1 3-day period where there were too many trailers to catch them, and now everyone's doing their own. Because Ubisoft are doing one this week to show off the new Prince of Persia that people are pissed off about for some reason. I can't keep up.
Are they pissed off about it because like the remake of The Sands of Time just seemed to just been forgotten about?
Yeah, maybe it's that, or maybe because it's different, or it is the internet and games. Maybe there's a woman in it that makes people very angry.
What?
Yeah, it could be any number of those things, or it could be Ubisoft don't know. Some of the studios don't have a great reputation for being nice places to work, so who knows?
Who knows? Okay, lots of gaming news. The only other piece of news I've got is that there's a a new Ghostbusters image was shared. I don't know if you guys saw this on Ghostbusters Day, obviously the day that the original Ghostbusters was released. It's just the logo with a load of ice on it. So it's the first teaser poster for apparently the upcoming sequel to Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now the assumption would be that it's just going to take place in New York City in the winter, possibly. I mean, we're going to get some ice-themed, some cold ghosts.
Some ice-themed ghosts.
Some
Ghostbusters : Hell Freezes Over. Can't say hell in a film title, can you?
Sounds pretty good, actually. I say good. I mean, it sounds totally possible. That's what I mean when I say good. Like, if that came out as the title, I'd be, yeah, right. But was the working title was it Firehouse for like? And I don't know what that meant. Whether that was just like one of those titles where they're like, "Oh, we better ship it to the cinemas and put it under a secret title."
Yeah, the base is a firehouse, isn't it? But I tell you what, Ben, you know what the opposite of a firehouse would be?
A water.
But the ice house is what it would be. That's not opposites,
okay,
right?
I got you. That's how opposites work, you dickhead. Stu, did you go see the Ghostbusters Firehouse when you were in New York?
I didn't. Do you know what? It was on my list, and I was going to go, and then I got sidetracked with doing a million other things that involve like my state building and stuff. But I'm potentially going back in November, so I might go and visit it then.
I mean, it's just like an exterior, really. But when I went there, it was just there was loads of scaffolding on it, so I didn't really see much of it. So
everyone dressed as Ghostbusters outside with cameras, like going to those Joker steps in New York, unbearable, ruined by other people.
Yeah,
so say that. So last weekend gone, I went to London and we were just bumbling around a couple of streets in Soho, and I was like, there's a couple of people dressed as Ghostbusters. And then we walked around the corner and there was a couple more, and then some more. And then there was an Ecto 1 car next to another Ecto 1 car next to the Blues Brothers car. And then a massive queue of people dressed up as either Blues Brothers or Ghostbusters. So we walked all the way to the front of the queue to see what was going on. And there was like a tiny off license with a poster in the window saying Dan Aykroyd signing bottles of vodka that he's endorsed.
Oh yeah, the skull
vodka.
Skull. So literally meters away from Dan Aykroyd in a little tiny off license. But there were so many people dressed up. It was.
I love it. It was just all coincidence that these people dressed.
Can you imagine what's going on? Absolutely livid that no one's dressed as a character from his vodka. It's like if it's like Harrison Ford who likes Indiana Jones but not Han Solo. It's like, fuck's sake, please no.
Well, I would have just gone as like Macaulay Culkin covered in bees. Just it would have been much better to go. Better reference. Go as Mike. Surprise everyone.
At the bees. Wow. I mean, that is pretty much it for horror news for this week that I've got down, unless there's anything else. I guess we could move on to what we've been watching. Stu said you've watched a couple of horror things recently.
Unleash those pent-up horrors, Stu.
Yeah. So I watched The Bones at All last week.
Oh, yes.
And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. So it's like the sort of cannibal love story with Timothée Chalamet. So everyone's favorite pointy-faced twink.
Everyone's favorite little baby Wonka.
Yeah. And it was actually really good. It was obviously set in the 80s, and it kind of gave me like near dark vibes. For some reason, I actually sort of thought it was a bit like that, and it was a little bit like Raw as well, the French cannibal movie. It felt like a sequel to that. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good fun.
I really liked it as well. I thought Mark Rylance as that guy Sully was like creepy.
Yeah,
like
terrible.
Just creepy. It's one of those films as well where I feel like, do you know, they kept talking about smelling each other and like smelling other people and smelling. I don't know. It was a really stinky film where you're just like, oh.
Doing smelling, not in a nice way. No one's got a new conditioner.
No, I think I know what you mean by it being like raw. Like something about it felt like blood and like the human body and everything. It felt really like just dirty, didn't it? It felt very grimy. Everywhere was sweaty and like flies were everywhere. I really liked it as well, Stu. I was a huge fan.
Yeah, it was really, really good. I mean, the only thing that I kind of gripe about, which is a minor spoiler if no one's seen it, is that they kept talking about well, obviously the title being Bones and All, and then in one scene they were talking about eating someone bones and all, and you never got to see it or hear about it again. So they talked about it for literally one scene, and that was it. And I was like, okay, that's obviously, if there's a book out there, it's obviously fleshed out more.
Yeah. There is a book, isn't there?
Is there? Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I picked up the book. I've not read it, but I picked up the book like pretty quickly after I watched the film. Like, got to read this. Never got around to it. So
you don't get to see. I've not seen it. You don't get to see how they eat the bones.
No, nothing. They don't
write down.
How would you do, Ben? Would you swallow them whole, or would you giant style grind them to make your bread?
I think you got to grind them, haven't you? I don't grind them and then do a big old line of it. I don't
even bake them into a loaf like the giant.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. Actually, I suppose if you did that, that'd be a good way of getting rid of bones.
Do you want a lovely bone loaf?
A lovely bone loaf is delicious.
Not so good as a sandwich. It's a bit of a dense bread, but it makes a lovely slice of toast.
Sourdough. Yeah. Anything else, Stu?
I watched Bodies, and didn't like it at all. Just I don't know. I thought when I watched the trailer, I thought I was really going to enjoy it. I thought it was going to be a bit like sort of Assassination Nation or something like that, where it's like kind of poking fun at itself, but in like a decent way. For some reason, I just couldn't get on with it, and it didn't really do it for me. But it had a couple of fun like jump scares and stuff, so yeah, it was okay. And then the other one I watched was a movie called The Lodge.
Oh yeah, with
Alicia Silverstone in the beginning, and Richard.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've seen that, so yeah.
I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was quite good. It's sort of two kids in a remote lodge terrorizing their dad's new girlfriend. It just kind of all goes a bit dark really, really quickly.
Riley Keough, is that her name? Yeah, I remember it being like, it looked like the kind of film where you're like, oh, this is a new sort of like A24 style. I don't think it is A24, but A24 style horror, psychological horror or something. I don't think I particularly enjoyed it, if I remember right, but it was a while since I've seen it. So Alicia Silverstone, is she just in the opening scene, if I remember correctly?
Yeah,
that's
she's
right.
just
a real mom.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But it was good.
Was that the only three really you wanted to see?
I mean, other stuff is just non-horror related. I went to see the new Spider-Verse film.
Yes, I mean, we can speak about that very briefly. Not seen it, Andy?
No, not yet.
Okay. Well, we won't do spoilers, but I don't think there are many major spoilers.
I'm assuming Spider-Man comes out on top, but other than that,
Oh well, does he? That's the question. I think
the question I'll answer when I go see it.
That's obviously there's another one like fairly soon, isn't there? Beyond the Spider-Verse. So,
yeah.
How did you feel about it there, Stu?
Well, for some reason, I feel like I was the only person in my friend group who remembered that when the first teaser came out, it said part 1. Yeah. So everyone else seemed really surprised when it was like to be continued at the end of the movie. And it might have been because I haven't watched any trailers since the teaser. So I just assumed that they were all going to say part 1. But as a movie, I felt like it was quite long, but I really enjoyed it. It was stunning. The only thing is I was in one of the showings where it had the really bad sound.
They've been sending out new versions, haven't they?
Yeah. So if you're going to go and see it, Andy, you need to go and see it now because it'll actually sound great instead of.
In many ways, I've been delayed. My experience will have been improved by having to prioritize the Boogeyman last week and then being too busy to go to the cinema.
That's it. Yeah. You'll have a much better experience now because you'll be able to hear some of the dialogue and the music at the same time.
It was a balance issue, right? Was it that the music was too loud?
No, it was mostly the whole mix was just really murky for some reason. At the beginning, the first sort of 15-20 minutes was the mix of the dialogue was really, really quiet and the music would be really bombastic.
I did notice that, but it was after I seen you mention it, so I was almost like, am I just thinking this because Stu's mentioned it, and now I'm like, now I'm overthinking it? But yeah, I know what you mean. Like there was a bit where there was like a lot of music, there was a lot of drums, and there was like a narration from a particular character, and I was struggling to hear. But I think after that, I didn't notice it again. So
yeah, I think towards the end of the film, I noticed it more for some reason. Like some of people's voiceovers and stuff just weren't hitting. I just couldn't hear people, and I came out of it and asked one of the guys in the cinema, and they were like, "Yeah, it's a problem everywhere." So there you go.
Yeah,
it's a problem everywhere. So you specifically are not entitled to a refund, sir.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Is that what you're saying? Just so you don't have to give me my $15 back. But
yeah, you say this if you let this go, if we let this go now and refund you, Christopher Nolan's going to owe a lot of people a lot of money for incomprehensible dialogue.
Yeah, I'm still bitter about Tenet, to be honest with you. Well, I'm still ringing from it.
I still haven't seen it.
Still ringing. I mean, so I saw Across the Spider-Verse as well, and I loved it. I think I prefer it to Into the Spider-Verse just because it's just it's not your like standard origin story, but it's still an origin story, isn't it? Whereas I think this one leans so heavily into the way Spider-Man's portrayed across so many different types of media. I just love the fact that it pulled so many different things from loads of things that I've loved growing up with, and it just felt, the fan service is great, but at the same time, I feel like if you weren't a huge fan of Spider-Man, it'd still be hugely enjoyable.
There's just one poor fucker that hasn't caught up with multiverses being the thing right now. Again, why is there more than one of him? Bloody hell!
Exactly. Bloody hell! There's more than one of everyone and everything now, and God.
Oh, they made a mistake there. There's two of him. Oh,
they made a mistake. I'm going to complain. So I saw that. The only other thing I've really seen, I've just been playing some games this week, but the only other thing I've really seen is The Stuff, the 1985 B movie about some sort of weird yogurt.
About mean yogurt, yeah.
About a mean yogurt. I mean, you did tweet me, Andy, when you're saying about this. So you'd say you're a fan. I don't know. I just couldn't get on with it. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. Like something like The Blob, which I think The Blob is like I'm talking the remake. Take no prisoners. Fuck everybody up on screen.
Melt that kid.
Melt that kid. Murder that kid. It's horrific. It's bad tempered. It's evil. The Stuff. I just kind of felt like it was such a really weird like film in terms of the vibe of it. It almost felt like a bit of a silly adventure movie, like with the movie. And Michael Moriarty, the guy who plays Mo. Do you remember why he's called Mo, Andy?
I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
The reason he's called Mo is because when you give me money, I just want Mo. And I'm like, what does this mean? What are you gonna get people to call you that because of that? You're gonna enforce your own nickname on people. It was just I just found it a really weird film. It needed some. I mean, sure, you get some half decent practical effects of heads exploding and stuff and heads caving in on themselves, but I just don't think it goes far enough. Doesn't go far enough.
Then wants to remake this stuff, everybody. He'd be caving in ice cream man's heads left, right, and center.
The stuff, it doesn't even look nice because apparently, so it's not ice cream. It's like some sort of weird, just gloop.
It's like a zero fat, like calorie free snack, isn't it?
Sounds horrible.
Corner.
Yeah,
it's a Muller corner. Yeah, it's like
Fiendish Feet was based on. So instead of having little yogurt pots like Frankenstein's, but he eats it from the inside out.
So I thought what I would do is, because I was unsure of what to do for Horror Hangout Bite Size this week, I'm going to do The Stuff. So I'll get that little mini episode, me talking about how much I did or did not like The Stuff.
Just can't get enough of that wonderful stuff.
It's got about 5 different theme tunes as well. Like there's one song where it's I don't know. I felt like it needed a distinct theme tune, and I would have been on board with it. But no, I mean that is all I've seen this week. I mean, talking of theme tunes, I'll just quickly mention the fact that this week we reached 1,000 followers on TikTok. How exciting! But to celebrate, I went live, played a game of Guess the Horror Movie Theme, and I had a really good time. I had a lot of fun. There were loads of people interacting with me. There was a bit of people getting competitive, a bit rude, but I liked it. I enjoyed it. So I think I'm going to try and do that maybe like every week, because it was pretty easy to just jump on and kind of play a little game like that. So if you go and follow us on TikTok, Horror Hangout Podcast, I'll be going live. I was going to try and do like a midday on like a Friday from now on. And if not then I'll try and do it on a weekend, but keep an eye out for that and play along. Because good times. You jumped on and had a little go, didn't you, Andy?
Jumped on a little bit, had a little game. It was fun.
I feel like I was either doing it too easy or too difficult, and I feel like I've learned a lot. So now I feel like I can make the game a lot
Sticking
more
for
easier
some
to
more of
access.
Ben's musical quiz.
Yeah, it's fun. Don't mean to take your title of Quizmaster, of course, Andy.
No,
I
it's
never
all right.
will.
You can be in charge of all TikTok-based quizzes. That's
Okay, that's fine. You give me official
too much for me.
permission.
It's mostly just a scheduling issue.
Have you seen anything this week, Andy?
Just the one film. Other than that, I've been working away, so not much time for movies. Just time for. But I did do a little bit of podcasting. I'm continuing to work through Archive 81, which I started when the Netflix series kicked off, but it had been cancelled before I got around to watching it in true Netflix style. When something doesn't become the biggest streaming thing of all time in the week it's released, then
cancelled.
It's in the bin right away. So I watched the first 3 of the series, but I thought, you know what? The podcast did continue and finish. So I'm about half a dozen episodes into that. It's really good. I like the premise is really interesting. I've come to it late. It's already, I believe it's finished, or it's certainly like 80 odd episodes through at least, if it's anything still to come. But yeah, it's good. It's good quality content. So I was enjoying that while I was out on the road. I did manage to watch though a horror film called Freaks of Nature. Let me just pull up the cast for you and work out what the year is. So it's basically a human, a vampire, and a zombie in a world where these things just coexist anyway. They don't just turn up. They all live together in a town, and then they are sort of thrown together.
It's like being human or something. It sounds like being human.
Thinking that, yeah.
Very much so. So it's 2015 by Robbie Pickering. Get Out, Undead or Alive. In the town of Dilford, humans, vampires, and zombies were all living in peace until the alien apocalypse arrived. Now 3 teenagers, 1 human, 1 vampire, and 1 zombie have to team up to find out how to get rid of the visitors. So Nicholas Brown, Mackenzie Davis, Josh Faden, Vanessa Hudgens is in it as like a bit part, but Keegan-Michael Key, Joan Cusack, Bob Odenkirk, like some big names in like
stacked cast
in US comedy. It's a charming enough, silly, like silly kind of light lift, like some quips and a little bit of like over the top bloody violence. Unfortunately, 2015, or at least when this was written, I feel like it came out at the very tail end of some things that people would still put into a edgy horror comedy script that almost probably the second it came out would make you look at it a bit sideways. Not going to cancel myself, but there is very, very heavy use of a word beginning with R for like mental limitations that is thrown about like it's how do you do? And in the modern world where people refer to it in that sense, think, oh, is this film from longer ago than it is? No, 2015.
I've never even heard of this. I'm looking at it now, but I've never even heard of it. Mackenzie Davis, is she the one who's in Terminator, the newest Terminator?
She might well be, she's the what's the chops, isn't she? She's
she's like enhanced.
She's
not
future
like
dead.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it looks like it.
Kyle Reese, that's who she is, but not. Yeah. She's that person. Yeah.
Wow.
It has its moments, but it's what you'd expect. It's like a schlocky comedy, but not funny over the top offensive like a trauma movie is. It's just that you're mainstream, but you've just missed it a little bit. But it's not bad. It's worth
Read the room.
Some fun. Yeah,
Read the room, guys. So that's it. Apart from the film of the week.
Yeah, had to make time for this.
Yes, indeed. So, the movie of the week is Little Shop of Horrors, which is a 1986 American horror comedy musical film directed by Frank Oz. It is an adaptation of the 1982 off-Broadway musical of the same name by composer Alan Menken and writer Howard Ashman, which in itself is an adaptation of the 1960 film The Little Shop of Horrors by director Roger Corman. The movie centers around a nerdy florist who finds his chance for success and romance with the help of a giant man-eating plant who demands to be fed. Yes, he does. So what have we got? 7.1 on IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, 90% critic score, 79% audience score, and 3.8 on Letterboxd out of 5. I've got some choice reviews here from Letterboxd users, including Shannon, who says, as much as I loved Audrey and Seymour, Audrey 2 is a real musical legend and the definition of a problematic fave. 4.5 stars. That's pretty high. Holly Beth says, this was fucking wild. I can't believe I just watched Steve Martin fuck Bill Murray on a dentist's chair. 5 stars.
Which version did she download?
What was that?
Which version did she download?
Which version did she download?
The ultra director's cut.
Nyla Race says, this is pure unadulterated camp and I loved every second of it. 4 stars. And Matt Lynch says, I've got nothing constructive for this. It's a delightful pop confection with truly astonishing animatronic work. Never gets old. 4 stars. So there we go. It looks like people are loving Little Shop of Horrors. What is your relationship with Little Shop of Horrors, Stu? Did you see it at a young age?
I did. Yeah, I saw it at a young age on video, and then it used to be on TV a lot at the early 90s. So I used to watch it then. And I, for some reason, just gravitated towards it and just thought it was incredible. Like even now, the effects for Audrey 2 just blow my mind. They just look incredible still.
Yeah, really great.
Yeah, I watched it, and then kind of when it came out on DVD, there was a whole thing about obviously the alternate ending, which we can talk about later. But yeah, I think it's just a classic. It's just such a weird, like tongue-in-cheek sort of camp B-movie style musical that you can't help but love. I think it's just one of those that I've never heard anyone dislike it that much. So yeah, that's the history I've had with it. I've known about it since I was little, to be honest.
Have you seen it on stage at all as well?
No, I wanted to when I was in New York a couple of months ago. I almost went to see it, and then it just didn't happen. But I went to see Wicked instead. So maybe next time I'll go and see Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, that's something to aim for. Andy, are you a big fan?
Like Stu, saw it on video when I was a kid. I think we had it taped off one of those times it was on. One of those times it was on TV, and it became regular rotation for me. I think maybe I've forgotten over the years. It's certainly been a good few years since I last saw it on film. But I think this is probably up there with Jurassic Park and Tremors of the films I've watched the most times, because I had it on like this VHS tape to the point where I could still tell you the bit where the tape is a little bit worn at the beginning of the first song, where the lady begins like a alarm goes off at 7-bit. She goes off tracking a little bit. It goes, and then she goes back in. Like, I've watched it that many times. I can tell you where the faults in the tape are.
So you watched this version, you were like, hang on a minute.
Hang on a second.
Say it right.
She's off key. And I've seen it on stage 3 separate occasions. I think once in London inside a theatre many years ago. Once sort of like 2017, like an outside version with Kew Gardens, whereas instead of a puppet they had like a really extravagant and very tall like drag performer in like fabulous plant outfits going around and like sassing the audience directly and so on. And then I saw it, hence suggesting we do it right now this very week. Then I saw an amateur production of it at Perth University, just up the road from my house, a few weeks ago. And if I've got any listeners from Perth University, kudos, guys. You did a great job. I think you did an excellent performance. So yeah, I wanted to watch the film again, and I'm glad we did. I mean, we'll get into it, but like Stu, production on the planet, it has, again, I'll conjure the image of Jurassic Park again. This is a very old effect now. I think it still really holds up. I think it's still really good. Levi Stubbs and the voice for Audrey 2 in particular is a perfect performance, really well placed. The singing, the songs are great. I could still sing all of the songs now, like a big old favorite.
The only film Levi Stubbs has ever involved in.
So you must know him, Ben, growing, having not seen this film, you probably primarily recognize him as the voice of Mother Brain from Captain N, the Games Master.
Oh yeah. Oh my god! Wow, that is well, I didn't really make the connection, but
It
there
is.
you go.
It's not an impression. It is him.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. That's cool. But yeah, when you say about the effects looking great, the only thing I kept thinking is I know this has been rumored to be remade for a while, isn't it? I know Taron Egerton was possibly connected as being
I could see
being
that.
the lead.
Taron Egerton can wear a thick pair of glasses, basically. Someone's seen
Yeah.
that and gone, Eddie the Eagle, little
Eddie
Elton
the-
John, and you can do singing. Writes
Seymour
itself.
Krelborn.
Get me Dexter Fletcher on the phone immediately.
Oh, he'd love it. He'd be well in there. But I just kept thinking, oh yeah, it'd have to be practical effects, wouldn't it? You can't imagine like a big old CGI Audrey 2.
Yeah, I'd want I would want like fully practical. Get me Stan Winston on the phone.
So even though I've like never seen this before, I think this is just one of those things in pop culture that you're just aware of. Just aware, you know what Little Shop of Horrors is, you know what Audrey 2 is, and obviously I'm hugely familiar with Rick Moranis and the majority of his career anyway. So yeah, but then again, one of those where I'm so familiar with so many bits of it where I'm thinking, have I seen it like years ago as a kid? Maybe. I just definitely haven't seen it in adulthood.
Were you familiar with like the 1990s? In the same vein as like Beetlejuice, and that I think I looked it up. There's like a 1991 cartoon series called Little Shop.
Yep.
Oh right.
Which is about like I know it exists, but I couldn't tell you anything about it. I looked it up, and the art style is nothing that I could have conjured in my memory either. But it's like a Beetlejuice, right? It's a horror property that they did a kids thing where the kid is friends with the antagonist, like in Beetlejuice, where Beetlejuice is just their mate. The plant Audrey 2 is just his friend.
Yeah, well, there was a slew of 90s properties that kids couldn't go and see that got turned into cartoons. So like RoboCop and Police Academy and stuff like that. And then they went on to do like Back to the Future and MC Hammer cartoon and stuff. But Little Shop,
Hammerman.
yeah, Hammerman. And then Little Shop. There was like a handful of episodes, and they made Seymour and Audrey teenagers. They looked like children, and Audrey was Mr. Mushnick's daughter. And for some reason, like I think Audrey. I don't think Audrey 2 was called that in the end. I think they were called something else. But it was just like hijinks with a big plan. It was like going around with his plan. It was great.
And it was just called Little Shop as well, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, Little Shop.
Okay.
It's called Junior.
The only reason why I know it was only a handful of episodes is because I think I'd seen one of the episodes like 6 times because they just kept repeating it all the time. But yeah, it was great.
So has anybody seen the original film as well? So I'm assuming. So as far as I'm aware, that's not a musical, is it?
Yeah. So the original film, it's not a musical, and it's quite a famous film in the fact that it was a sort of big Hollywood joke at the time because it was made in I think 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
And it was the very first movie role for. It was only a bit part for Jack Nicholson, so he was in the original one. It was not even a part that translated into the musical either. It was just a bit part in it. And the thing about the movie is whenever Audrey 2, whenever the big plant like kills someone, it grows a flower with that person's face on it.
Oh wow! Okay.
Like the stage
Jesus,
show.
I mean that's super dark, isn't it?
I've got to say the effects where they do the faces, it terrified me as a kid when I watched it because I thought at one point that me and my friends were going to watch this version and we got the wrong one and we got that version and we were like, okay, we'll sit through it. And I was like, this is actually quite scary.
Have you seen that one, Andy? As well?
In part, I certainly have vivid memories of the last shot of the film where you see several people as the flowers.
Yes.
But I couldn't tell you the moment to moment now, so it's been a long time. Might have to put it on the list while the memory of this one is super fresh.
Yeah. So in terms of cast, this is like mid-80s. It's just a gold mine for
mid-80s comedy, absolute A-listers, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like everyone you'd gonna be willing to expect if you had to list some of the biggest and best from the 80s. So obviously Rick Moranis plays Seymour Krelborn, Ellen Greene plays Audrey, Vincent Gardenia plays Mr. Mushnick, and then Steve Martin is Orin Scrivello, DDS, the sadistic dentist. Levi Stubbs, the voice of Audrey 2, the killer plant. And then there is obviously guest appearances from John Candy, Bill Murray, Jim Belushi. Is that just in one of the endings, or is
Jim Belushi is just in the theatrical ending?
Yeah,
that's right, just in the theatrical ending. But yeah, just one of those films where you know you're in good hands pretty much when you start seeing the cast appear.
Well, we'll come to it in a bit, but like watching this back this time, like Rick Moranis's performance, I can remember. Like I know he stepped away from acting not because he chose to. It wasn't that he stopped getting roles, but it reminds you of how good he is as a comedic actor and decent set of pipes on the bloke as well. But the thing that really got me as well was obviously rest in peace, the Candyman. He is so good at the bit where he plays like he's on the and just it's like such a subtle little gag that he is every member of staff on the radio. So he's the news reader and the thing that he passes it over to like Wade Wilkinson's weird one. It's so good.
So good indeed. Rick Moranis is amazing. He's the best, like one of the best comedic actors at just looking constantly disheveled. He's constantly disheveled in Ghostbusters, after he gets slurped off by a dog. And he's constantly disheveled in this as well. Just like let's put him coming out of like rubble with his hair sticking up and his glasses like wonky or broken is an ideal look for him.
Yeah, he's got like he must have like maybe it's a genetic thing that like I feel like Rick Moranis has never had to put a single product in his hair. Like it's just like it just goes exactly where you put it. So if he's like just alters his hair to make things, it won't just like drop back into place the way it starts. It's like, no, you put me here, that's where I'll stay. It's he's really great at just like making it stick. It's and like his little facial expressions. Can you imagine if in real life like Rick Moranis didn't even wear glasses, was like a real hard man? If you speak to him in life, he's like Jason Statham.
When are we going to get his comeback? Because it's rumored like almost every year, isn't it, that Rick Moranis is going to make some sort of Hollywood return?
Didn't they try to get him for Ghostbusters?
I was going to say we need it for the new Ghostbusters.
Did they? Yeah. They tried to get him for Ghostbusters. Is that right?
I'm not sure. There was rumors circulating. Isn't there someone? It's like a Ryan Reynolds or a Josh Gad. Those two very similar people that are trying to get him to come back to acting because. I guess we're an information podcast. Like the vague part of the story that I know is that like after his wife tragically passed away, he had money. He chose to step away from acting and look after his children, and then he just chose never to come back. And again, like I imagine if you were a star of the magnitude of Rick Moranis at the time you were, realistically, just living a normal life, you probably wouldn't need to work again, right?
Yeah, and I guess that would have been shortly after the Flintstones movie, I suppose.
Yeah, that's one of his last appearances that I remember him from.
Oh wow, okay, interesting.
Good on him. I think that I've seen interviews where he said, "Oh, I stopped doing it for reasons for my family, and then I just had no reason to go back."
Can be asked.
Yeah,
can be asked. Busy.
Why not?
I bet
he reads a load of books. Bet he hasn't got any movies on his watch list. He's got plenty of time.
He's seen them all. Ellen Greene obviously is Audrey as well. Very strange speaking voice.
She's the original. She is the original Audrey from the stage play. So she created.
Right. Okay. So she created like that character and the sort of demeanor of that character as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you find that in a lot of the sort of bigger like Hollywood musicals, is that sometimes they'll harken back to like the original cast who were on Broadway kind of thing, and she's the one that created that character.
Wow.
So
okay.
Whenever anyone's doing like an interpolation of that, it's because of Ellen Greene. So I think when they got her in there, they just realized that there's probably no one else that was going to do it justice, I suppose.
Yeah.
And you can tell she's a stage actor as well from how she belts out those songs, right? She's like, I don't think there's a bad singing performance in this, but she knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then obviously Steve Martin as the abusive, sadistic, nitrous oxide addicted, very Blue Velvet, dentist. And yeah, he's kind of a scene stealer as well, isn't he, for all of the wrong reasons, but still.
Yeah.
Good. So where do we start? So obviously this film takes place in Skid Row. And there's a florist in Skid Row. Really run down sort of place as well. Nobody visits the shop at all.
It's like typical. I mean, is it one of those things that every town has a Skid Row? I always assumed New York, but it might not be. Like,
yeah, I think the one that they've got in there is from New York, but I think originally Skid Row is LA. I think, is that right?
Okay.
I think so.
So this it's definitely New York, isn't it? Because in the theatrical ending, one of the big scary plants climbs Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, they're all over at the end in the original ending. We'll come to it, but yeah. So we're on Skid Row. We begin with a little bit of narration, actually, don't we? So we get a classic positioning where a narrator's voice comes and says, "Hey, this is something that happened in a century not too far along our own when we had a series of mysterious events which started, as these things often do, in the most unlikely of places." And then we get proper title card, good musical, the song that is the name of the play, which is the name of the story we're going to tell. The three girls we have as chorus in this, I don't know how many other acting credits they have. I didn't have a chance to look, but they're great in this film, and I love how they have different outfits. The same with the stage play; they are like a constant throughout the movie.
So apparently their names as well are Crystal, Renette, and Chiffon, who are all named after American like vocal groups from the like 50s and 60s, I think.
Right.
Which is pretty cool. So the Crystals, the Renettes, and the Chiffons as well, which is pretty cool. Was this obviously Hercules was like, we're gonna have that, weren't they? Is that pretty much? I know it's called a Greek chorus, so it makes sense for it to be in Hercules, the animated Hercules, but it feels like they've heavily borrowed from this though.
Like having the three singers.
Yeah, in terms of the way they like, they're kind of like there for exposition essentially.
Yeah, and to kind of carry on the story, have like someone that can be in almost every scene.
Yeah, because in some scenes they're real and they're like street urchins and stuff, and they call them, and then in some scenes they're obviously like in the scene, but no one can see them because they're all like in their really glamorous outfits and do backing vocals. So yeah, I think it's a really great idea though.
Yeah, and it's utilized really, really well. And then of course the first song, which is just called Little Shop of Horrors, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
It introduces us to Seymour Krelborn and his co-worker Audrey working at Mushnick's flower shop. God, you got to find a better place to get a flower shop, and you, God, or get some better stock, because it looks like there's nothing going on in there. It's just like the most run down. I like the scene where they're all kind of like just all stood around, really bored, like counting down the hours, just to remind you of what.
And you've got a staff of 3 in a shop where you're getting no customers as well. So
yeah,
poor form on you, Mr. Mushnick, for doing this, but I will applaud you for city planning. An underprivileged area like Skid Row. Yeah, see this round here, be chockers with gambling shops and bargain boozes. Just nice that you actually get some aspirational things that aren't actually bad for people, that prey on things that aren't good for them in an area like Skid Row. So actually, good on you.
He could just have one of them in at a time. Audrey lives literally across the street.
Yeah,
he could literally shout across the street, "Don't need you in today." Stay
see, that'd be what modern Mushnick was like. He'd have on a bloody 0 hours contract, wouldn't he? It was a more honest time. The real horrors. I like
Mr. Mushnick looking out for Audrey, constantly in her ear about how Steve Martin's bad for her.
He's not such a nice boy.
Yeah, I like that. I like the fact that he's aware and he's looking out for her. That's good.
But he is.
I feel like
every mean to Seymour though. It's like you're no good, mate.
Oh yeah, is he mean to Seymour? In what way is he mean to Seymour? I suppose he just is.
Took him out of an orphanage to let him sleep under the desk of his shop and like sweep and clean the toilets, and gives him every other Sunday off.
Every other Sunday, yeah. When they say about going out for a meal, as well, I said, "Nah, you stay here." so yeah, obviously we get that musical number followed by the musical number about Skid Row as well, which is pretty epic, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, because of the lack of customers, Mr. Mushnick's like, closing the store. That's it. We're done. We're finished. We're going downhill. We're not making any money.
Don't come in tomorrow.
Don't come in tomorrow, exactly. But and it looks like this is something that Seymour's had an idea of for a while, because he's like trying to say, and Audrey's like trying to urge him to go and say it. Like they've been discussing it behind the scenes. So he's like, maybe we should do something a little bit different. Maybe we should try a different method to try and get customers in. How about a more exotic?
What about if we had a
type?
strange and interesting plan? I love it. This is one of the bits where the comedy really starts in, because I love the songs. The songs, they have funny bits in them, but they're mostly played for dramatic effect. We had a big chorus number just now with, proper like a bridge with bits in the middle. Really, really epic. And then we've gone to this bit, and then it's like, yeah, we'll do it. What about this strange and interesting plant? And he brings it up, and love it, Mr. Mushnick's that just because you put a strange and interesting plant in the window, it doesn't mean that he's interrupted as the guy bursts in as the first customer. Excuse me, I couldn't help but notice that strange and interesting plant. Where did you get it?
No one's interested in buying it though. It's just like an add-on. They just want add-on sales.
They've just come to see it. And the first half of this film, I mean, this is a film that is dense with songs, right? I think it spreads out a little bit in the back end, but the first third is really song heavy. That's not a bad thing.
Song after song, pretty much, yeah.
Because we do our flashback here with just retelling the story of how we found the plant, which of course is during a recent total eclipse of the sun, when this mysterious plant, which I should say is like tiny at the moment, it's in a little coffee can, little bulb, no more than your house plant that you'd have on your desk.
Yeah. So he's like, he goes past like a Chinese flower shop where he's pally with the owner, buys like cuttings of various plants from him regularly, obviously to grow. He says his hobby, really, doesn't he? He doesn't necessarily say it's something.
Yeah, his hobby is collecting exotic plants. So the Chinese shop owner sells him cuttings of rare and exotic plants he might have.
Yeah.
If Mushnick's had have gone under, maybe you could have approached him for a job.
Yeah, definitely. It seemed like a much busier street, nicer area.
Loads of customers, outdoor space.
Yeah, get involved. But yeah, so this eclipse happens, and there's like a flash of light, and this plant suddenly appears. To which the manager of the Chinese flower shop just goes, "I'll sell that. It's not on my itinerary. Don't know where it came from, but I've got a price dialed up for it. $1.95." What an absolute bargain!
He's kicking himself with what happens to the rest of this film.
I don't know about that. Maybe. So obviously Seymour takes the plant back to Mushnick's shop, and shows them this strange and exotic plant, which is like what kind of plant is it? Did he say?
It's like a fly trap, but he has named it himself because it's not in any of his books. He's named it Audrey after Audrey, but Audrey 2.
Audrey 2, yeah. So it's got like human lips, doesn't it?
Yeah, even as a tiny thing, it's got definite lips.
A little pout.
It's got a little pout going on. So yeah, he says he doesn't know what it is. There's none of his books, but he also says that means he doesn't know how to feed it, doesn't know how to look after it either.
Yeah.
But yeah, in this initial segment is when the plant basically brings loads of business to Mushnick's shop. People entering this shop, and I'm like, what are you doing shopping in Skid Row? Literally dressed up to the nines.
Obviously heard, and you're going around like you're literally Batman's parents, pearls and furs for days.
Yeah. Well, should we just cut through here? Cut through Crime Alley? I don't know about that. It's
Mushnick's Flower Shop's
Crime Alley. Mushnick's Flower Shop's the other end of Crime Alley. Well,
tell you what, Ben, as we're talking about it, where else would you personally in particular, I think, have seen Mushnick's Flower Shop? There's another branch in another franchise that you're aware of.
Is there?
Yes.
Mushnick's Flower Shop in another franchise as well.
Another horror franchise. You don't go in, but you'll see Mushnick's Flower Shop on the main high street of a certain other place.
Is it on the main high street in They Live? I don't know.
It's not They Live. It goes alongside another shop, Jill's Sandwiches. It's along there.
It goes alongside Jill's Sandwiches.
Yeah, there's a couple of shop fronts that you walk past. One is Jill's Sandwiches. The other one's Mushnick's Florist.
So it's got to be pretty new then, right?
Ancient.
It's an ancient one.
Yeah.
But Jill's Sandwiches is obviously from Resident Evil, so
I know the 90s is only 10 years ago, but that's...
What was it from then?
Silent Hill.
Really? Did you
original Silent Hill? There's a Mushnick's Florist.
Well,
I
I
didn't
realized that I knew it when you said it. It reminded me, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it was." But
So
yeah.
whereabouts? Actually, in Silent Hill, in the film.
Some of not the film, the game.
No, the game.
Oh my god! Now you say it, I'm thinking, yeah, of course.
Yeah, original Silent Hill. As you're running through the streets, you see a Jill's Sandwiches, you see a Mushnick's Florist.
See, when you said franchise, I was literally just thinking film and nothing else.
See, that's that linear thinking, Ben. You gotta move away from
thinking.
it.
Yeah, gotta grow up.
Yeah, come on, get a grip. Yeah, so the first customer that he explains the story to goes, "Oh, I better buy 50 quid's worth of roses while I'm in." He goes, "Oh, can you break 100 quid?" Afraid I can't. I have to buy twice as many then. So basically,
as if they've got twice as many, they've got no stock.
No wonder they're having to close. They keep so much inventory round the back, just going off with no customers.
Yeah.
So they
what is
sell the guy,
that all about? They all do
sell him
look
$100 worth of roses. And then, yeah, we just get flash after flash of other people coming in. But before that, actually, it has to grow because at first, Mushnick cancels dinner because it collapses on the floor. And this we have another sing song again straight away, where Seymour learns what the plant eats. So while lamenting that he can't find any way to get the plant to thrive and begging it to grow for him in song format, I'm not doing it justice. He cuts himself on some of the roses they sold not long ago, and his bloody finger, he like does a classic suck on your finger bit, and then he noticed the plant is like doing the same sort of beck in his hand.
That's terrifying.
Wants
That's
somebody go at it.
Terrifying. There's no way.
The bit where it snaps him. This is such good puppet work. It's no wonder that like a famous person that's worked with puppets all their life is the director of this film, right? Yoda himself,
Mr. Yoda,
Master Yoda is behind the camera here. So yeah, when he offers his finger, it like properly snaps at him, and then he holds it quite close, and it's like straining in the pot trying to reach it. And the snub, when he offers him the finger that isn't bleeding, it like just turns its face away. So much character for something that doesn't have eyes and is a tiny little plant. The character design on this is phenomenal.
Yeah, it is great, and as you mentioned, the puppetry is really good as well.
And this is a tiny puppet as well because it's obviously big. Must have done this with like, is it a slight animatronic thing? Is someone's finger up it like a finger mouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. And then business is booming.
Yeah, when the first time that you see it grow, when it's like stop motion animation and it sort of grows a little bit and then it grows almost like hands but out of leaves, and the hands open up, and it's you hear a sort of operatic when he's sort of like first taking a bit of blood. It's genius. It looks incredible.
Yeah, it's good.
It's really
a great song as well, and the way it like gulps down the blood as well is super.
Putting the drips as well, snapping it up.
It's literally like when you give your dog like a treat and it's just swallowed and not actually chewed, just go straight down like that.
Yeah, when you drop bacon fat anywhere near a dog.
You enjoying this or what? So yeah, Audrey 2 begins to grow rapidly, and then that in turn makes Seymour become somewhat of a local celebrity. Yeah.
So the next time we see him, after like a little cheeky montage of loads of people coming into the shop, we next see they've got a little bit of success. They're like a local famous shop, and this is where Seymour goes on the radio to see the Candyman himself, John Candy. I love this bit as well. And again, stage production here, similar technique, so funny. We live in a generation that grew up with Rod Hull and Emu, obviously. So having someone with an unruly puppet and like a fake arm holding it, and then the actor's hand in there, whether it's an emu trying to bite like people's nans when they're there, or in this case,
he just used to use it as an excuse to assault people. He was
how
literally assaulting people.
thumping them.
Well, no, Emu was doing it. Stop it.
It was emu.
It was Emu.
You can't hold
Bloody
an
emu.
emu. You can't hold
Yeah,
emu,
emu.
Ben,
All
to
my
the same moral standards as you do a human.
Yeah, no wonder Grotbags had such an issue with him. Like, Emu was an absolute terror.
If I was Grotbags, I would not go like that. Would be the one person in my neighborhood that I wouldn't mess with. Or should I go and mess with literally anyone who doesn't have a bird that could gore me that lives with them? And is a violent, uncontrolled bird. Dangerous, flightless bird.
Pick your battles, Grotbags.
When you say Grotbags, I thought it was the actress who played Grotbags in this, but it's not. It's what's her name? The one who plays the dentist's assistant. What's her name?
Oh, Miriam Margolyes. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah,
it's not her, but
Miriam Margolyes as Grotbags. What elevating that role.
Yeah.
I mean, I unfortunately did not know the name of the actor that plays real Grotbags, but I do remember it was on the news last couple of years that we have lost, I'm afraid. So rest in peace, Grotbags.
I saw that as well.
Probably getting absolutely fucked over by Emu in heaven now. Although I guess I haven't seen news of Emu's death, so I imagine he's still going.
Yeah.
Or in hell. Emu's 100% in hell.
They were separated at the point of Rod Hull's death because he got to go to heaven because he basically stopped that emu from causing more carnage for all of his adult life.
This is nuts. I've just Googled Carol Lee Scott, who is the actress who played Grotbags. The first thing that comes up on the Google Images is a picture of what's her name? Miriam
Margolyes.
Yeah, and it's on a story published by the Mirror saying that she died after a bout of cancer, and it's a picture of her, the Miriam
saying, this is not her.
Yeah,
so it's like a Taylor Swift, no, it's Becky thing, isn't it?
If you imagine this woman, but green, she's dead.
Imagine it, put a little green filter on this woman. But I tell you what, Carol Lee Scott, out of Grotbags makeup, she has got the tightest knit perm I've ever seen in my life.
I thought you were going to say she was really good looking, actually.
Actually, out of green makeup,
fits.
Oh, she is absolutely gorgeous. Wow, she's still got a big old mole, and she hasn't got that.
Funny enough, I, as a kid, went to see Grotbags live several times.
Oh wow!
Yeah, she used to do like a full-on like play. It was almost like a pantomime thing, and then at the end, she'd change her outfit, still as Grotbag. She'd come out into the audience and sing to everyone, and she'd go around with a little basket, and people would put sweets in there. And then the following day, she'd go to kids' hospitals as Grotbags and give out sweets.
Oh, wow. I like how your tastes have developed. So you saw Wicked the musical not so long ago, and it was Grotbags live all many years ago.
Running theme, absolutely. Anything with witches, then I'll go and see it.
Big thing for like big old green witches.
Absolutely.
I mean, welcome to the 80s British culture hangout. Not a podcast I'd be against making, to be honest, Ben. I mean, for our US and other overseas listeners, this is the height of our culture.
Frantically Google this stuff.
Frantically Google, because I think if you don't know about Grotbags, your life and the culture of your country is poorer for it. So please do introduce it. Look up some of Rod Hull's physical comedy. There's it's on YouTube. I've seen it. There's things with Rod Hull is like in a supermarket with Emu, and it like flips him into like a dump freezer. It is insane. And he was not a young man even then. He's thrown about by this emu.
He's never looked young. He's never looked young.
I am speaking as if like I mean it was a real emu, but forget
that.
So yeah, now Rick Moranis is doing his best Rod Hull impression. He has got at the moment Audrey 2 is kind of emu size, kind of the size of a flightless bird if it didn't have legs and it just stopped at the body and it was a plant pot and it had no legs. So he's got it on his lap and it's
good description.
Yeah, he's in the waiting room of the radio waiting to go in to see John Candy after the news is finished. And there's a lady, a receptionist, very dismissive of Seymour. I love all the other characters that are in the waiting room to go on. There's like man with like a model nun and a saxophone.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of weird things. And she's leaning over the desk, and the plant is desperately trying to bite her on the bum.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He's just like, don't
Like
do that.
wrestling the
God.
mouth closed. It's so good. And then just this bit, it reminds me. I guess it depends on your era what thing you know John Candy from, but for the longest time, this is where I knew John Candy from, like where he basically goes out of the shtick of being the sensible, straight-laced radio announcer, and he like plays all of his jingle like proper commercial radio, like squonky horn banging the xylophone, and it's like, wait a minute, lady, put your clothes back on. It really, really got me. It's like, what if your husband comes in? It's like, I'm sorry, Wade, I love your show, but I have to kill you both with this machine gun. It's so good.
It is great.
I just get the feeling that like maybe it was scripted, but I feel from what you see of that energy and like Rick Moranis' face just like staring bewildered at him, that he could have quite easily just done this. And I still have an indelible memory of when he's like says he feels very weird and just moves the microphone back and forward. I do it every time I have like my microphone here is on an arm, but if it was on a freestanding microphone, I would very regularly go, so very weird. What a time.
What a time indeed.
He definitely he's one of the people that I think, yeah, I knew him from obviously Spaceballs as well, but from this was like the sort of prime John Candy for me. Like even though he's only in it for like 3 minutes, he just steals the show.
So funny. What was your first take on this? Ben? Like, bloody hell, mate! Be a professional radio presenter, will you? As you're coming to this news.
This is ridiculous. Come on. No, it's John Candy. I think just enjoy whatever. I mean, for me, John Candy, it was Home Alone and Uncle Buck were the first couple of things I'd seen him in before going back and seeing Spaceballs and other things like that. And he plays it pretty straight in Home Alone, didn't he? So it's kind of crazy when you see him. Just a poker king. Poker. Really big in Sheboygan. Huge in Sheboygan. Yeah. So what happens after this? After this, I think we start to get introduced to Orin and his abusive relationship with Audrey and how he's treating her. And obviously, Mr. Mushnick is like, he's a bad guy. And then we see him like slapping her. And
so we have a couple of songs. First, like, you know, we know her date is coming. Yeah, they've been more successful. She sort of says, "Oh, Seymour, do you want to you know, you could buy some new clothes?" And there's like a friendship there. It's building. We know that he's in love with her for a long time. It's never really hidden. But then we hear that her boyfriend is coming, and we get Steve Martin again. Absolute bonza performance, and so funny with the dentist song. I mean, I think it's done with such good humor, but you know, were you running a risk of it does for the career of dentistry what horror films have also done for clowns to make them scary, because he's a mean man, and it makes going to the dentist look terrifying.
He like bursts into rooms just to inflict pain and then moves on to the next patient. Like he's not actually really doing any dentistry. He's just doing like the horrible jamming like injections into people's gums, just like
just hurting their mouths. Just the boy, like was like an Augustus Gloop looking boy who like yanks his hair back and then like knees him in the groin, so he opens his mouth, twists his teeth around.
It's overtly sexual though, because he is like climbing onto people, you know what I mean? Climbing into people, opening their mouths. Is the one where he's like just spraying the.
While he makes him say now
spit.
I love the bit where he like
Margulies as well several times.
Yeah,
is it when he's like listening?
He smacks him at the door.
He like listens at the door until he waits to hear someone come and then springs it open. I love the scene in this song as well when he it's the song plus the sound production when he's singing about being someone's dentist, and it's like POV from inside someone's mouth behind their teeth.
Gruesome.
And
it's horrific.
And he's drilling their teeth and the tongue's going, and like when he sings like "I am your dent," and the guy's like like an echoey.
You got the Greek chorus in the background as well.
Yeah.
which is awesome. It reminded me, it just looked horrific. It reminded the pictures you get on like cigarette packets where it's like this, your teeth could look like this if you don't brush, if it's hard to keep smoking.
That's a bit we get later on. I love it when it's like, this could happen to you. And it's like a picture of like the most fucked mouth in the world.
What was going on? That was a dog, wasn't it?
It's like a dog. It's like a
What
dog
was it?
mouth.
It was horrific.
Yeah.
It was a Rottweiler. But like, why have they got that
Look,
picture?
Seymour,
Is that loud?
this
Like
could
dog
happen
that's
to
been
you.
Battered. You could have a dog's mouth.
So good.
I mean, so just before that, to kind of reiterate the fact that Audrey's got feelings for Seymour is when she sings the song "Somewhere That's Green."
Oh yeah. As a kid, I didn't like this song as much, but now it's really grown on me. It's very
We see like
very good.
Them fantasizing about living together in a really picturesque, like sort of like
just uneventful 1950s suburbia, right? Like offensive real chain link.
Yeah. And then you have two kids, and they just happen to look exactly the same as them.
Yeah. Like their mom and dad, which is like there's a boy and a girl. And it's very much set for like a 19. I mean, I take it this is lifted from the original story, right? Despite the fact it's a 1980s movie, it's never formally said. I don't know if we ever see a date, but it's fundamentally like a 50s thing, right?
Yeah,
I think the movie's meant to be in the 60s, but the references are all from the 50s. So like her reference in terms of like, you know, the housekeeping, good housekeeping guide and stuff like that. And like the Tupperware parties and watching like I Love Lucy and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I Love Lucy, and she said she cooks like Betty Crocker and looks like Donna Reed. Like Betty Crocker's, I think they're both famous now, right? And later on, Audrey 2 makes a Hedy Lamarr reference, who is like a 30s, 40s icon.
Yeah, it does kind of feel like that, doesn't it? And even from what like Audrey's hair and like what she wears, well, everyone's kind of wearing in it as well. It kind of feels like that, doesn't it? Very like 50s-esque. So after that sequence, again, we see more of the dentist guy being abusive to Audrey. Like when he takes her home one night, we see like the shadows of them, and he slaps her, and Seymour's witnessing it as well. And that is when unfortunately he sort of hatches a scheme.
He's had a slightly even more shocking thing than seeing domestic violence in front of his very eyes. Lawrence Scavillo takes Audrey off for a date, and as he goes back inside, the plant collapses, and for the first time, we hear it speak. It demands to be fed, and sings him a song about being fed.
Yeah, suddenly perks up when he needs to break into song.
Yeah, really hungry, but I will sing you a song. Yeah. Obviously, the plant has grown exponentially now. It's
well, Seymour is like running on fumes because he's been giving it so much blood. He's got like plasters all over his hands where he's been feeding it, and he's like, I just need some time to heal for a while before I can give you some more blood. And he's like, now I want some now.
Yeah, I need some bloody now. And it proposes that in the form of song, again, I can't do it justice describing here, that one, it will make it worth his while to kill someone to feed him, because it can do whatever it likes. Like, it's responsible for the success in the business, that if he wants money or girls or fame, and he finally gets attention with one particular girl, he could help, the plant could help him get Audrey. Pauses, but still can't think of a reason why he should kill someone. That is when we see Audrey and her boyfriend come back, and we sort of see him hit her in silhouette. And we've already seen she had black eyes and has her arm in a sling already. So we know he's very, very abusive. And that peps Seymour right up. He is left at the end of the song, ready to go and murder the dentist.
He looks like plant food to me.
Yeah, and he does big panting at the end. He does like a big frowny face and like
Yeah, so Audrey too kind of makes out that he's wait. Am I assigning a gender to Audrey too? Or are we just saying?
Yes.
I don't know why.
With modern sensibilities, I guess plants are they, them. Plants have both genders, right?
I guess.
Sounds about right.
Mushrooms have more than that. They have loads.
Yeah.
But at this point, Audrey too is acting like a genie. Even says that in the song.
Yeah.
that is a genie and can grant pretty much like any wish in a way. We're not supposed to think that there's any sort of like alien, because that is kind of revealed slowly, isn't it? That
comes out at the very end. It's just a weird plant that is able to talk and move, and that's the point when he says that he's not going to kill someone because you are a plant, an inanimate object, and the plant forcefully, Audrey points out that if I can talk and if I can move, I can do whatever I want. Does this look inanimate to you, punk?
Yeah, does say that. So then obviously is when Seymour hatches the plan to kill Orin, goes to the dentist, and this is when Bill Murray gets his cameo as well.
Bill Murray is another person like John Candy who's in the film for like 2-3 minutes and is absolutely steals the show, right? So we've this is going to show my poor knowledge of King. So he's like a sadist, right? He enjoys hurting people and he sings in his song that he gets off on the plane he inflicts. Whereas Bill Murray's character, is he like he likes to be hurt, right?
Yeah. I mean, the thing that always gets me with this scene is that he loves going to the dentist and he loves loads of pain, but he has got the most fucked up teeth you've ever seen. So
they do look fucked up, don't they?
Yeah.
What's going on? I was literally like, I don't think I've ever looked into Bill Murray's. Has anyone heard the latest Bill Murray news before I move on?
Yeah.
Is this true?
Oh no.
Who is it that he's going out with? I've blanked on it, but it is like someone that you'd be surprised by. It's going out with Rita Ora or something.
He's going to have Khalees.
Khalees, that's it.
Bringing milkshakes to the yard.
Yeah.
Khalees. And that I'd love to know how they met and how they hit it off.
Milkshakes, obviously.
In a yard.
It's obviously the bloody milkshakes, mate, isn't it? Yeah.
Doesn't discriminate.
It's weird though, because wasn't Bill Murray like kind of almost a bit cancelled recently for some sort of on-set behavior
he's always been
some ways
pretty awful like on set. I mean, like that's why he didn't come back for the second Charlie's Angels movie, wasn't it? Because he was meant to be really awful to the cast.
Didn't get on with Lucy Liu, right?
Yeah, that's
it. Okay.
Yeah, he was horrible to her.
That's kind of strange, isn't it? But yeah, so I'm almost interested to see what the scenario would have been. None of my business, of course, but still, you wondered about these things, don't you?
Khalees doesn't discriminate, Ben. She clearly states that her milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. I suppose that it is inclusive of Bill Murray.
Yeah. It doesn't say my milkshake brings specific all boys 5 years within my age bracket, up or down.
Done the business. So yeah, obviously Bill Murray's character is pretty much Orin's nemesis, right? Because he wants to inflict pain.
Freaks him out, right?
Yeah, and he just tells him to leave eventually.
I love that when he's really trying to hurt him and he's like screaming thank you. My favorite bit is when he's really trying to hurt him and he's like really in his mouth, like trying to like twist his teeth, and he has his hands across his back. He's like massaging his shoulders. You are something special. It's your professionalism that I respect.
It's the girl in the waiting room that always gets me, where she's got that huge contraption on her face that's like holding her mouth open.
Yeah.
And Bill
what did he do to you?
How lucky you are.
Well, like, yes, they are. They have to do that to dislocate the jaw.
Yeah.
It's so good. And he throws him out, and I love how he's extra angry with him. It's like, get out of here. And then when he's thrown him out, he like goes to push him. He finds he's nicked one of his things and it's in his pocket.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this? Yeah. And then basically goes at Seymour Hard. Is like, look, would you be scared if I did this? And he's like, yes, come in. Drags him in.
Tries to make an example of him, and then he puts on his weird contraption that gives him all the nitrous oxide directly into his. It's like the tank's on his back, and it's got the weird little pumps on the front.
And there's all sort of nose things that pump it into his face.
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah. Again, indelible memory here, because he starts to sort of thrash around and he's having too much gas when Seymour pulls out his gun and he's like hysterically laughing. What's that? A gun? Kid's got a goddamn revolver. He's like I'm in trouble now.
Yeah. So he's obviously cracking up. And then he tries to like switch it off, doesn't he? But then he pulls
breaks the nozzle off.
He's overdosing.
tries to point out that he could asphyxiate, but before he can get that word out, he does exactly that. I guess from a story perspective, we're retaining Seymour being a good guy here, right? Because the dentist is dead. He has been killed. And he is, in the following scene, fed to a hungry plant. But Seymour didn't shoot him or kill him.
No, chops him up good and proper.
Oh yeah, chops him, and there's obviously pretty much no blood in these sequences, is there at all?
Oh, really? Very little.
No, well,
just some little red spots.
And it's just because all the body parts are wrapped up in newspaper as well, aren't they? So feeds him to Audrey 2, and that causes Audrey 2 to grow even more,
even bigger. But I tell you what, though,
enormous.
It's not all sunshine and lollipops, because you'll never guess who was just popping by the shop to stick his head in.
Ah,
Mr. Mushnick.
He witnesses it and he goes
backs away
off.
like Homer Simpson into a hedge.
Goes running off. But yeah, pretty much when he. So obviously this isn't immediate, but Mr. Mushnick is going to use that to his
advantage a bit later. Yeah. But first, Audrey does deliver, and we get a beautiful belter of a little love song here, because the police have been to see Audrey off camera and told them that her boyfriend has disappeared. Probably
the police are talking to her, and the police are talking to her in the street, and Seymour goes over and goes, "What they say to you?" And she goes, "Nothing. Don't give me that. They're literally just talking to you."
Asking about the strange and interesting plant. And then we do the Suddenly Seymour song, which in the cinematic release comes up a couple of times. But this is our big delivery here, where again, the actress who plays Audrey, some great things, talks about when she met Orange Commando DDS in the gutter, and he's like, in the gutter? Yeah, it's a local night spot. I'd go and wear cheap, like cheap tacky outfits, not nice ones like this. And as it's happening, like the panel is like Wes Anderson centered on her when she has like a low cut top and like her boobs like stuck up to her ears. A lovely bit of like a visual nod, and like you don't notice it. I remember watching this film when I was a tiny little kid, thinking, "Oh, poor Audrey had a hard time. This isn't a joke at all."
So innocent. Yeah, and following that is when Mushnick confronts Seymour and says he saw everything, but he says, I'll give you a one-way ticket out of town if you just leave the plant to me, because obviously he wants to take advantage of the renewed interest in the shop and the plant, and
things are coming in, right? Because at this point he's being offered TV appearances, and he's on Life magazine. He's becoming big and famous.
Yeah, of course. And he says, all you need to do is tell me how to look after it. And he's like, "Oh, you don't want to know. You don't want to know everything I've been through." But again, this is so Mr. Mushnick again. His death isn't down to Seymour either.
Yeah. How did you both read this? Do you read it then as like an accident? I've seen it in stage plays where it's the plant's gesturing to him and he kind of backs him into it, like as he's talking, and he has him step back, and he's kind of complicit in that because he's saving it, because the Audrey 2 sings a song at the time, and I'm not sure if we're meant to be able to hear it as the audience about the
time, isn't it? That's
like his supper time song.
I find it weird that Mushnick's got a gun and is suddenly starting to back away from Seymour. I don't really understand why that happened, but obviously
he's no idea what he's capable of, I guess, because he saw him chopping up some body parts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in some of the stage performances, it's not that he backs him into it. There's others where, like, I've seen other ones where it's like, he talks about, it needs water, and I think he said he puts the day's takings, and he didn't have time to put them in the safe yet, but I've left them just in the pod of the plant, and when he goes in to get them, the plant just chomps down on his head, or he tricks him into putting his head too far in. So I've seen versions where Seymour is basically more complicit into tricking him into being eaten by the plant. But you're right, in this version, I feel it could be either way. It could just be the way that things have gone and he's still quite an innocent party.
Because I think when Mushnick puts his head into the plant, like Seymour says like no or something like that.
Yeah.
Just before he chomps down on him.
Just before he gets eaten. Like, again, stage play advances this a little bit more as well. So in the stage version, Seymour was taken in by Mushnick when he was a little kid. There's another song that's in the stage version which talks about him adopting him because he realizes that Seymour's becoming famous and basically becomes his dad.
Right.
So he adopts him, so he technically is a Mushnick at this point, although he still just calls him Krellborn. Like he so he's adopted him, and it's like there's a familial tie there. And there's another bit on the song, the Michelin Herrick. We get like a little snippet of that song in this version, where you see him being like treated and being given offers and deals and things like that to appear on television and things.
He gets offered like his own TV show, doesn't he? And then
so that's something that happens. I mean, we get the snippet of that, like a really, really short version of this song in the film. Again, stage play wise, we get an extended bit here where Seymour kind of pauses before he signs all the contracts and says, no, I'm not going to sign any of these things. I have to make a choice. At this point, he's killed the dentist, so it is around this time of the story. To continue this lifestyle means more killing, and it means that I'm willing to do this because now I know how it works. If I sign these contracts, it means I'm committed to killing people, that I'm complicit in this. And then he pauses, thinks that Audrey won't love him anymore if he doesn't have the success and money, and then he signs the contract. So there's a moral choice that's made in the play that doesn't get translated to the stage version. And I wonder if it's because you can't think Rick Moranis is a bad bloke, right? What a lovely man.
Yeah, who's going to buy that?
No one.
No one.
You can only suspend disbelief so far.
Yeah, exactly.
So is not now when Seymour sort of hatches the plan to escape Skid Row, with Audrey.
He goes outside and says, I think we have another little bit. He's sick of it. Like the people are bothering him to do TV shoots. The plant falls over and he says, I can't feed it now. Sends all the TV people away for the day. They said they'll be back the next day. And he asks Audrey if they can get
some
married.
plant food over here. I'll feed it. No,
fuck it. Can't do that.
Can't do that.
So yeah, he gets rid of them, but I guess a little bit of time has passed, maybe in a couple of days or what have you. And Mushnick's just away.
Yeah.
And he asks Audrey if she'll marry him, and they agree that he'll sign the papers, agree to do the television show, get the money, and then just move away and never have any plants again.
Hightail out of there.
Audrey 2, I should say. Difficult when two characters got the same name. Audrey 2 asks for more food. He offers to go and get it some meat from down at the shop, but Audrey 2's got other ideas. It is now quite mobile, uses the payphone to phone up Audrey.
Is this when Audrey starts using the term or phrase tough titty over and over again?
Yeah, he says it a few times when he's like, oh, you ain't having none of this.
Absolutely perfect. I love it.
Yeah. Dishes out a no shit Sherlock at some point as well.
Does he?
Yeah.
So it tempts Audrey over, and I think this is the point. This is where real sliding doors moment, everybody. This is where we get our stone that splits the streams of time. And lovely Echo the Dolphin 2 reference there. And then we our endings will now differ. So the original ending, which you can watch now if you watch the director's cut, it's been fairly well restored and colorized, and it's pretty well complete on the director's cut of the movie. Is the ending that you get in the stage version, but did not go down as well with test audiences for the cinema. So we have a cinematic. So did everyone say
it was a bit of a bummer?
Yeah, they're real bummed out by it.
Yeah, that's a shame, isn't it?
I mean, we'll talk which ones you prefer later, but right now, I guess we'll cover how it happened. So in a little sing song, a sort of a refrain of the supper time song, it asks Audrey 2 asks Audrey 1 to give it some water. And as she goes to pour the water in, it grabs her and starts eating her.
Yeah, while in a wedding dress as well. She's already got her wedding dress on.
Yeah, she's gone to get a wedding dress to get married that very evening. So how do we do this? I guess original ending, Seymour goes to get Audrey, but a little bit more blood on this one. It's not so she's got like a bloody middle where it's basically bitten her across the sternum. He drags her outside, and I really like this bit now. I think on reflection, when I'd watched this as a kid, I would have been like the cinema audiences and been like, "Oh, this is sad. I don't like it." Now, but watching it now,
I did like this version. Yeah,
thematically, it fits in so well because as Audrey 2 is picking her up in the original version, it says, "Your friend the dentist and Mushnick are already in here. You'll be joining them again real soon." And I love the little take she gives outside. She's like, "When I die, which I imagine will be very soon, I want you to feed me to the plant." And she
at
does
this
a
point,
little...
I was like, how could she be dying? She's got like a little scratch on her neck. She looks absolutely fine.
It's a lovely like stage death though.
It's
isn't
like
it?
Padme. It's like a Padme death.
Yeah, Padme given up, or Kate Beckinsale in Van Helsing. If I get winded being knocked onto a sofa, fucking die. I had a long day.
Peace out. Done.
Yeah. Or a woman from Sylvester Stallone's action rescue movie Daylight, where literally he turns around and then one of the characters is crying because his wife has literally just passed away while the camera was off her for a second. So I thought she was just resting. No, given up on life. Given up on life.
I've had enough.
Like Creasy Bear from Man on Fire. When those gangsters are going, "I've got you now, Senor Creasy, you're going to die." It's like, joke's on you. Dead.
Oh my God.
People who can die when they choose to, when it's dramatically relevant. Yeah, she's in that list. She's chosen when to die, and she does a refrain of the "Somewhere That's Green" song. But now it all makes sense because that's where she's going to be, inside the plant, somewhere that's green.
So she says about being inside the plant, and that way she's still there with Seymour in some way. Is that kind of?
And she does love him because she wants him to be successful and thinks that if I'm dying anyway, then it's worth me being fed to the plant because it will mean you still get what you deserve.
Yeah. Wow. And then he goes back inside.
Before that, again, we get a little... maybe this was the bummer bit, because the alternate version, the cinema version here that differs, is that she is fine. They have a repeat of the Suddenly Seymour song, and we get a comedic, like, "Sorry, kids, if I can just stop you singing for a minute." There's something I like to... And this is where we get Jim Belushi, who says he would like to take cuttings of Audrey 2 and sell them across America, and they'll be bigger than hula hoops. In the original version, a lot more grimly, sad following Audrey's death. So Seymour does go in and feed Audrey to the plant and then storms out in terrible, traumatic tears, and then goes to the shop's roof where it looks as if he's going to jump off.
It doesn't even look that high, does it? I kept looking at it thinking,
you're going to break your legs, but be alive.
I don't even know. I don't know about that either. Maybe like one broken ankle, possibly.
Maybe the spikes. I don't know. But he's going to...
Spikes!
I've been pierced by a spike! Yeah. He's going to jump off, but then someone else, not Jim Belushi, goes, "Oi, I've taken a cutting of the plant." And he has one already. He has a baby.
Oh, yeah.
One.
It's got one made up.
And says, "Look, I took a leaf cutting, and actually this will grow. We could sell them across America. We need to just license it from you, and then we can do this. It'll be huge." So either motivated by revenge and knowing that the Audrey 2 plans to take over the world, or very happy but realizing he has to go back and confront the plant because otherwise it's going to take over the world, he goes back in, and whichever way, the time streams converge again and we get a song.
Yeah. What song?
This is a Mean Green Mother from Outer Space.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I think possibly my favorite growing up.
Yeah, it was the one that everyone used to sing in school and stuff because it had like bad words and things in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here is where it's confirmed that Audrey 2 is from space as well.
Yeah. This is where that's the revelation. That's the bit where Seymour said, even like repeats it, it's like outer space, and then he carries on singing. But my favorite bit in that is where he snatches the gun from him and spins the gun round and then starts to get Seymour.
Shoots him in the back, shoots him through the back office, like blowing all the windows out.
Yeah.
And Audrey 2 casts some fairly major shade to other horror franchises in this film. And if you remember, a little bit of impromptu trivia.
Yeah.
Which things do he? Which items does he throw some shade at here? What are the horror icons?
I know he mentions the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yep.
I want to say the Thing.
The Thing and It.
And It, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. In the extent, I think certainly on the soundtrack, there's another one where he talks about King Kong. Don't talk to me about old King Kong. Think he's the worst. You're thinking wrong. Don't talk to me about Frankenstein. He's got a temper. He hasn't got mine. He says ain't, but yeah, really throws. I loved this song growing up, and then we get another little convergence here as well. Sorry, a divergence of the time streams once again. Original cut. What happens at the end of the song is it basically eats Seymour. He unequivocally picks him up, puts him in his gob, chews him up. His broken glasses are on the floor. He is 100%, 100% dead, eaten. The end. Sad ending.
Our main protagonists both dead.
Yeah. In the nice ending, though, at the climax of the showdown song, Audrey 2 basically pulls several of the supporting pillars out of the shop, and loads of the roof falls down. Seymour is buried in rubble, but unfortunately for Audrey 2. His hand emerges from the rubble with an electrical wire, and like the shark in Jaws 2, he is electrocuted. We get some lovely sort of animated blue electricity going around him. We get lovely rotoscoped electricity, and Audrey 2 has just enough time to do another little bad word. Again, very popular with me as a kid, because he says, "Oh shit," and then explodes. Seymour steps out of like the smoke in the rubble. They have a little hug, and the film ends in the cinematic release here, where we see them go off to somewhere that's green, their lovely sort of picturesque suburban house, walk into the house, and at the end of their lawn, at the end of the garden, in the border, there's a tiny little Audrey 2 that gives us a cheeky wee smile. And if he had eyes, he'd give us a little wink here, but he doesn't. So it's just implied by his smile.
Smug plant, really smug.
But in the original, we get one more song, which teaches us the folly of sacrificing our morals, Ben, for the offer of riches and fame and promises that can be made to us. It's called "Don't Feed the Plants," and we get our chorus girls again giving us a song that basically outlines what happens like in cities across America. Other poor jerks were sort of hoodwinked by plants, sweet talked into plants of feeding them blood, and then eventually people, when they finally realized their plan, which was to eat Des Moines, and then several other places. And then we get "Don't Feed the Plants." Again, if you watch the director's cut now, I remember on the first DVD release of this, it being a far rougher copy, hidden in the back of a DVD menu now. But thankfully, one of the few improvements of the digital age is that now this has been fairly well restored, and you can watch that, and it's fairly in keeping with quality of the rest of the film. I think maybe the giant Audrey 2s have slightly less texture to them because they have to CGI them at some point, I think.
Still looks pretty good, though.
Still looks really good.
Doesn't feel too out of place.
Yeah, and it goes on for quite a while. They destroy everything. They eat so many people. They eat cinemas and shops and sorts of things. And
the final shot is like the plants on top of Statue of Liberty with like helicopters circling as well.
And then it comes through the cinema screen at you.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Which I kind of thought, that's pretty cool. You know, that would have been effective if you saw it in the cinemas, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go then.
So we've done two endings. which ones do you prefer? Ben, you've watched it for the first time right now, so you haven't got any nostalgia to lean back on. Which one did you like the most?
I think I did enjoy the is it the alternate ending? Is the alternate ending the one with all the big giant plants?
I guess that's the original, but that wasn't
That's
what
the
came out
original.
on cinema. So
No,
it's
so
like
not the theatrical ending. Yeah, because I think it is kind of a bit of a bummer, like the characters dying, but at the same time, it ends in a more like the theatrical ending is kind of a bit basic. Oh, they win, they go and yeah, of course it's a happy end, it's a nice ending, but maybe the cynic in me is like, yeah, destroy the world, come on.
I think the original ending is a better horror ending, and I think watching it now, it does pay off a lot of the themes, that Twilight Zone-y element of it, that like you have done something bad, you've sacrificed your morals, and you're being taught a lesson, you're suffering for it, right? I think it's a better horror ending, as much as I love the happy ending, because they're nice people and it's nice to be nice and see people have happy things, but same time.
Yeah, it feels more like a typical sort of B movie that it was building up to. Like this is almost like the creature that you'd find in a B movie, and this is like setting up that movie kind of thing. That's what it felt like for me. It was like this is the creation of something that is bigger than the musical now, kind of thing. I love it, but I've got to say, as much as I'm so used to the theatrical cut, that I did find it jarring the first time I watched it. And I just wasn't expecting it. I had no idea that what was going to come, and I knew there was an extra song and stuff like that. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, actually, I kind of prefer the original ending. I think it's just pretty savage, but it looks incredible.
Yeah, it's super savage, isn't it? Yeah, brutal. There we go then. That is Little Shop of Horrors. I guess. Have you got any name game for us?
If you could give me the synopsis, Ben, that'd be wicked.
A nerdy florist finds his chance for success and romance with the help of a giant man-eating plant who demands to be fed.
Okay, so we'll follow the theme here, where there is someone that's had a situation, but that will also inform the name here. So, in this film that sounds suspiciously like The Little Shop of Horrors, fresh from resigning her post as media and culture secretary over being having honors disavowed, a former MP carries around a big bucket of piss and just it spills out the top because she's carrying it carelessly. But she's not rude, so she wouldn't say piss. She'd say a more child-friendly name.
Piddle.
I'll take Piddle. I wrote Whiddle, but that's fine.
Piddle. It's Nadine. What's her name? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Doris, yeah.
Nadine Doris. So
and she's spilling it out the bucket because she's carrying it so carelessly.
Whiddle or Piddle?
Yeah.
What's she doing?
Yeah, I'm gone.
It's spilling out the bucket because she's just milling it about the place, carrying it quite carelessly. Is Doris?
Whiddle.
Yeah.
Slop.
Yeah, that's right. Whiddle Slop of Doris is that film.
Jesus Christ! I hate the fact that you do that, and then I'm gonna give you one where I've literally changed one word of the title.
It's
that was good.
A florist jumps around on one leg.
I'm not gonna answer. I'm not gonna dignify that with an answer, even though mine aren't much better. I've got a nerdy florist finds his chance for success and romance with the help of a tiny, tiny policeman.
The Little Cop of Horrors.
That's right. That's correct. Fuck the police. Go on.
It's A-Cab Ben Errington.
A-Cab.
Here's another one for you then. Let's have a look here. So,
oh God, if you've got to double check it, it's going to be even more complicated, isn't it?
Fed up of many paternity cases, former disgraced prime minister bears all, and people remark on the incredibly small size of his penis, but they use a euphemism for it.
Little knob of Boris.
Boris.
I didn't go knob, I went for chop, as in
Oh God,
gave Boris flopping the chop
that's
all over the
horrible.
place, isn't
Made me
it?
feel even worse. Have you got a problem with the Tory party, Andy? All right, they're doing their best. I'm joking.
Not to get political, Ben, but I think they're
I'm
cunts.
not. Not to get political. I think they're cunts. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Okay.
I'd respect them more. I'd respect them very much if I didn't think they were actual criminals, but that's okay.
It's true. I'm
Vote
afraid
free, you want everyone. It's a free country. Just about, eh?
Is it
On
though?
fucking paper it is.
I'm afraid that mine are far more not politically charged. So an early florist finds a chance for success and romance with the help of a lovely, delicious, yogurty milkshake drink.
Little yop of horrors.
Little yop of horrors, yeah. Loved a yop. Can you give me a bit of the yop theme tune?
I know precious little about yops. It's up to you, Stu.
I have no idea.
Give me yop, me mama. Yop, me mama. Yop until the. I'm not gonna make it an accent thing, but
Yeah, I'm uncomfortable now.
I know precious little about yop. I'm pretty sure.
Precious little about yop, yeah.
I'm pretty sure next week's guest, Mr. Edward Harvey, is a fan of yop, and I think we've discussed yop in many on probably more than one podcast. So I'll save it for next week.
Next week on the British Culture Podcast, Ben and I will be singing the trio song.
It's very similar. It's incredibly similar, isn't it?
Yes, just take a classic sort of reggae dancehall song and make it about your confectionery product.
Delicious. I do love a yop. I'm craving a yop, but incredibly thick. It is like drinking. It is a solid. It's not a liquid. Come on, it's not as good as the stuff. Okay, you got another one, Andy?
I've got one more for you. Not politically charged, I'm afraid. Sorry, everybody who comes to the Horror Hangout for political content. Finally, fed up with the prices in Augustine Rome. One of the hang on, make sure it is Augustine Rome. Hang on, I obviously had to look up my Roman poets here. It was, yes.
Am I lost already?
One of the foremost poets in the time of Augustus in Rome is bloody sick of the high prices of Roman groceries. So he gets himself his weekly essentials from a low-cost British supermarket.
Well, it's Lidl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Lidl shop of whom? I'll give you a clue. It rhymes with Horace.
Does it? Horace?
Horace. That's right.
Is it? It's like an Egyptian god. You should have done that.
It's the should have. Yeah, but apparently I looked at the actual name. I looked at the actual name Horace, and I was like, famous Horaces, and the only person that comes up is Quintus Horatius Flaccus, known in English as Horace, was the leading Roman lyric poet of the time of Augustus. So what I'm saying to you, everybody, anyone having kids right now, you want them to succeed, you want them to be famous, you want good SEO on that name, call them Horace. If they go into any type of performing, they'll be the most current famous Horace for a good several thousand years.
I apologize for the lack of effort it seems I've put in. Have I put in a lack of effort? Have you put in too much effort? I don't know. We should meet somewhere in the middle.
It's all about averages, actually. So on average, we have made a solid amount of effort.
Yeah, solid amount of effort. Okay, last one. A nerdy florist finds his chance for success and romance with the help of a giant man-eating plant. But first, he's got to clean the kitchen floor. And the kitchen floor is absolutely massive. And the toy he's been given to do it is incredibly diminutive, tiny, not good enough for the job.
Is it the little mop of horrors?
It's correct. It's the little mop of horrors.
Yeah. The more you give these examples, Ben, the more I think maybe I did overthink it.
I think maybe what we're doing here is we're wishing he were the other person in the scenario. We should just meet together in the middle.
That's okay. I think hopefully I've really engaged the youth. With all of our talk of grot bags and pink windmill culture, I've really engaged the youth on the political system, and maybe I've turned a few people around. They're thinking, actually, I don't think we've been better off since they've been in.
But everyone's going to be watching grot bags, drinking a yop, and not voting Tory from now on. So it's all good.
Yeah. I mean, vote the opposite. Do vote tactically, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Any more, Andy? Is that it?
No, that's it for me.
Thank God for that. Okay, now we've got to rate the movie A to F. Rate good or rate bad. Pluses and minuses are allowed. Stu, would you like to rate Little Shop of Horrors?
Oh, A for me, easily. I mean, also because there is 2 endings, how do you rate both of them? But A, split down the middle for both of them. I think they're cracking. Love it.
Andy, are you of a similar mindset?
I'm with Stu here. It's an A for me. One of my absolute favorites. I cannot believe giving myself a B- for not having watched it in such a long time. Especially with 2 bloody years stuck in the house. Didn't sit down and watch Little Shop of Horrors again. My goodness.
Come on, it was waiting for you.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm so glad I've watched it again. Really, really cool to see the original ending. Or like after a long time and not being able to see it very well. So yeah, I'd recommend people watch it, seek it out. It's so much fun. Good songs, humming them for days. Get them on the Spotify playlist. Like me as a child, imagine if your school ever was to put on a production, you might actually volunteer to be in the drama side of things. Definitely not a trained actor or singer. Probably wouldn't have had a chance even if I had been interested, and probably would have bottled it anyway. But the source of any kind of number of dreams you can have as a young man. Yeah, but a great deal of pleasure from this film. I like it very much. How about you, Ben?
Well, as the first time watching it, obviously I've not got much of a nostalgic connection for it, but the way it's kind of affected a lot of pop culture over the years, I can see that. And yeah, I appreciate it for what it was. It had a great cast, great songs. I'm probably just going to go for a B for now, just because my relationship with musicals is a bit of a difficult one, but maybe it could grow in time. But I think in terms of a horror comedy musical, when you add those 3 words into the mixer, it does everything you kind of would expect of it, doesn't it? So
not wrong with a B either, Ben. Don't need to apologize for it. D's get degrees, my friend, so you keep on it.
Well, that's the attitude I carry into life. Okay. Thanks for joining us, Stu. Where can our listeners find more from you?
So if you're on the YouTubes, if you look up StuTube, but it's STOOTOOB, and you'll see a whole host of top 10 videos. Basically, most of my channel is sort of unsung films or films that you might have missed of a certain genre. So it might be musicals or found footage or anthology horror movies, things like that. And it's just me sat in front of my couch chatting about films that I quite like.
Awesome. Yeah. Sounds great. As somebody who's always checks out a brand new StuTube video when it goes up online, I can recommend it as well. There we go.
It could be like they watch them and just imagine years later, oh, this is just a thing I knew. No, it's all Stu. I wonder how many other things I only know because of Stu.
All of the things.
Yeah. Next time I'm driving, I'll be like, did I ever take lessons? Oh.
Just be holding Phil next to you.
So, fuck's sake, Andy, you're going to have to get the hang of this.
Okay, thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to our current patrons, including John Crinham, Ben Scaife, Stephen Christopher, Toby Miller, Scott Rigby, Lane Spencer, Ollie Child, Leslie Carlo, Julia Bilgren, Nick Spill, Troy Birch, Rosalind Harnias, and Pazuzu. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review. Head over to the Facebook group, Horror Hangout Board of Advisors, for more. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Next week's episode is Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. Been waiting for this one for a while. With Mr. Edward Harvey returning to the show. Looking forward to that.
I'm so sad to be missing next week. I'm off on me pre-birthday holidays, Ben.
What?
Yeah. But I will give you a little give
the
you a
first
little.
I've heard of it. I'm joking.
Bloody hell, have I forgot to tell him? No, yeah, I might get round to watching it, and maybe I'll record a cheeky little bite-sized about it, so I can join in the fun. I mean, who would miss an opportunity to watch Blair Witch 2: Book of Shadows?
Yeah. Or I always thought it was that, but after doing a bit of just looking at it this week, it's Book of Shadows: Blair Witch 2.
Oh, is it? No. Very confusing. It's a Resident Evil Biohazard situation all over again. I'll tell you what, though, Ben. Do you want to finish on a real life horror? When after having my week off, when I return for the following episode to round up June, I'll tell you why I told you could take care of the TikTok stuff. You're fucking 40 when I get back from this little break.
We should do some sort of celebration, some sort of special.
Maybe at the start of July we'll watch a 40-year-old movie or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I turn a film next week.
Yeah, so film. Of course, your birthday's really good. Yes.
Wait, 42. You turn 40 next week?
No, I turn 42 next week. Yeah.
Okay. There we go. The hands of time. They get us all eventually.
We'll watch a 40-year-old movie. So what? Something from the 1960s? That's 40 years ago, right?
Yeah. Or 40 Days, 40 Nights, which you might have done already, to be honest.
No, I haven't done 40 Days, 40 Nights. Only 30 Days of Night, which is not enough.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. When you said 30 Days of 30 Nights.
Yeah,
not that film with Harrison Ford and whatever her name. That is a horror. That is a real life horror. That's terrifying.
It's 40 Days, 40 Nights, the one where the guy isn't allowed to mazz off for that long, otherwise he loses all that money.
That's it. I'm thinking of the
what am I thinking of?
We're all as confused as each other.
We're all as confused as each other. And on that note, from three guys, one who's very nearly 40, one who's only just gone 40, and one I'm approaching 40 as well. You know, there's nothing bad about it. I've just said it out loud for the first time ever, and I just felt a little pang of pain in my chest.
Tell you what, this is the end. Folks. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about this 40-year-old stuff. It's just a number, guys. Don't ride high on it now, because time's going to come for you. All right.
Yeah. But if you do remember grot bags, you are too old for TikTok. That is officially it. So there we go. I'm just going to delete my account
until the grot bag renaissance, the grot-essence that's coming hard.
I think that's the perfect day to end the show on.
Okay.
I'm
going to go tweet some things about grot bags now, which out of context will confuse and enrage many.
Enrage. I'm just going to tweet a picture of Marilyn. Still don't know her name. Marilyn Nigger. What's her name?
Marilyn Margulies.
I was going to tweet a picture of her and
not
rest in peace, grot bags.
She'll be like, "Oh God, not this again."
No, don't, Ben, because I think she's been poorly in hospital recently. You might get cancelled.
I won't do it. I won't do it.
Yeah,
I won't do it. Right. Okay.
I'm not grot bags, and I'm not.
Oh, right. Thanks, everybody.
Right. Good night, everybody.
See you next
Bye.
time.
Bye.
Bye.